Warning, this video is intended for adult collectors. It contains plastic collectibles, questionable opinions, and the #1 enemy of translucent plastic. It's too late. Random review is about to begin.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel. Now, I am currently in vacation mode, so all of this is automated for the week. And you know that means I'm going to throw a random review at you, at least one. I think I've been very good about giving you variety for this away time of mine this time. So let's just go ahead and review something. And I'm going to make it a big deal one at the very least. We're going to be talking about the brand new 86 Thundercracker. Hey, look, new Seeker mold dropped. Oh my god. So, after investing so much in all the different versions of the Earthrise mold, is it worth upgrading to the brand new 86 mold? That's what we get to determine today. So, it is the traditional F-15. It looks exceptionally nice. Definitely leaning heavily into cartoon accuracy with the shapes. However, that does not mean that it is going quietly into the night as far as sculpted detail. Rather than be strictly Sunbow about the vehicle mode, there is a lot of detail entirely dedicated to just making it look more like a jet and making it look more interesting. You see all that panel lining going across the wing. Very, very nice. See a little bit of gunmetal breaking up the blue in the middle. The intakes have some extra sculpting to them as well. So it's not like completely cartoon accurate. They're absolutely giving you a little bit of visual variety amidst all of this like lovely blue jet going on here. Yeah, you see he is casting a really nice animation accurate shade of blue. It's a little bit richer on my camera at the moment, but in person, yeah, it's a really nice Thundercracker blue. Not too dark, just a little bit pale, spot on. Deco-wise, you do see the traditional stuff, like the red and white striping down the wings and the Decepticon logos that will inevitably end up upside down once we get into robot mode. That's just how they've always been. Silly, I know. So there are a few new tricks on this toy. So, for instance, you do have a orange canopy here, translucent, but if that's not enough for you, it actually does open up to reveal a cockpit inside. Can't wait for DNA Design's upgrade kit to include a pilot figure for this little guy. That's going to be on the way. So, cool little touch. Does absolutely nothing as far as the overall design scheme of the toy goes. But hey, it's cool that they thought to throw it in. You also have landing gear in this one, which sometimes the landing gear on a jet transformer gets neglected. So it's nice to see it included. Now, granted, on the backside, you don't. You just have the folded up feet to act as, what he rests on the rear. But it's still nice to know that I can leave this guy around in jet mode, or like a kid cousin or a little kid or something could drag this around on the desk and not scrape up the nice robot mode paint. That would be a really nice thing. So I'm glad they did that. Yeah, overall, it's a really, really nice looking jet mode. There's a few blemishes you could point out, like obviously you still got a lot of undercarriage because, it's a transformer jet. You have these tabs up here that'll be important in robot mode, but in vehicle mode, yes, they mar the visual just a little bit. And you see the null rays, or whatever Thundercracker has instead of null rays. They do show the hollow side up, which is a little bit visually distracting, but it's not terrible. So let me go ahead and get these off so we can begin figuring out how to transform the toy. I will point out, underneath the wings, you have 5mm ports here, 2 different options, and if you've got them transformed correctly, you will have 5mm ports on the side as well. Keep in mind that when you get this guy out of the box, if it looks like there's pieces of his wings missing at the store, that is because the ends of the wings are separate pieces you're going to have to put on yourself, which is a weird choice, but there's your warning. So, overall, very, very nice jet mode. Let us transform him, and I will show you everything else that it does. We're going to start by folding up the tail fins and then rotating them up like this to unclip them from the wings. And that is going to be our cue to wiggle the wings out and get them hinged up like so we can clear all the engineering for the legs. Oh, this is being stubborn on me. Give me a second. There we go. There we go. Just have to be a little bit firm with it. Not a big deal. You're going to have to fold this piece up as well because this is locked into the legs. And I'm just going to head and separate them out too, just so this part goes a little bit smoother. So, pop open these panels here on the back. You're going to double hinge the leg out. Make sure it's pushed all the way to the front before you snap this closed again, and that's going to lock it into its robot mode position. Do the same thing on that side. Now, the tail fins are interesting. So, for now, I'm just going to rotate them like so, just so that there's no part forming involved here. You can just, put them in like so, and then flip the feet down to complete the legs. Now, upper body. Starters, the wings. I'm going to go ahead and fold those up so I can get them out of the way of the arms here. This piece clicks down. You're going to have this separated piece here at the back side on the top that is going to open up to give you enough room to get the head out. So once that is out, feel free to double hinge the nose cone in, get that ready. We're not quite ready to sink this into place yet though. First off, we need to get the arms out, which we can do by rotating that section up and folding these out like so. As long as these are out, go ahead and take these two gray panels, flip them down to form the sides of the pelvis. I'm going to rotate the arms around. You can do this part in any order, but I like to just get that part out of the way just so I can, keep that in mind. And this all goes back down. Make sure all of these little tabs end up into the chest so everything ends up nice and solid once we get it into the final robot mode. And your goal here next is going to be for this piece to end up locked in down here. So for me, that is a firm, little push everything down, and then once it's flush to the pelvis section, just push everything back in order to get that lock. If it works, then the torso shouldn't go anywhere when you push it back up. Now, flip out the hands like so. Just open up that panel in the back, flip it out on a ball socket. There we go. And to complete it, we'll bring those blasters back, and we're going to mount them here on the side. One last thing. See where that pelvis ended up on the backside? You can fold it up here to be a little bit more clean. Ultimately, it doesn't do anything as far as transformation or stability go, but for the most part, you just want to make sure that this is out of the way. Also, make sure the wings are pegged in just to keep them in place. And that's the transformation for your brand new 86 Seeker mold. And it is a very, very good transformation. It only takes a little bit from previous Starscream, Thundercrackers, etc. Does quite a few things different and a few things that do remind me of Masterpiece Seeker mold. So it's kind of cool to see that engineering and mindset adjusted to get a brand new retail level Seeker. It is a fun experience. Now, and that is a really important one. Transformation on Seekers is absolutely vital to be fun, because you might end up transforming 6 to 9 of them at a time, depending on what you want to do with your collection of jets. So it absolutely has to be intuitive and fun to do. Let's go ahead and give you the usual rundown here. The sculpt on the face, if my camera will focus on it, he's got a little bit of a grimace going on, which, okay, I will say I'm not huge on that look per se. It's the head. It's a good face sculpt any other way. However, that's just a little bit off-putting. It's a little bit weird to stare at too long, but is not the worst I've seen. And it's going to be good that all of the Seekers are going to have different expressions to them. We've already seen Skywarp's. He's very frowny. Skywarp's having a bad day, but then again, if you've seen him in the movie, you would understand why. If we look at him overall, one of the cooler things about him is, he is a pretty clean design. Everything folds up to the back really, really nicely. Now, the only thing that's really kind of throwing him off as far as kibble goes are the tail fins. Not an issue here. So just like the Masterpiece toys, this toy has a way of getting those tail fins up and hiding them behind the main wings. So in robot mode, this will just, in the back, just kind of look like, like these heavy, like triple wings going on. But once we get these attached there onto those 5mm ports, now we get a completely clean looking cartoon accurate robot mode from the front. I'm glad that is an optional, like one of the things that bugs me is when they do things like that and take that option away. Like I've said it in the past on other reviews, I really like options when it comes to how to display my toys. I'm glad there is a way to transform him with the only part forming being his guns. And technically, if I plug those guns in on the side of the vehicle mode rather than under the wings, I could probably get away with transforming him without any part forming. But to have the option to also hide them or just take them off and have a storage spot for them so they present a more clean aesthetic and cartoon accurate look, that's very appreciated. I like that. And again, it is very much going for Sunbow in this mode. You see very, very clean, minimal lines going on the torso here. On the arms especially, there's just no added detail going on. He is definitely supposed to present cartoon accurate, which, you know what? After all of the heavily greebled and over-designed figures that we've gotten of the Seekers in the past, I think it's fair to have one that is going to look as clean and smooth as possible. Which does remind me, as long as we are looking over all of this, here is the Earthrise Thundercracker. You can see that the Studio Series is a little bit taller, but not quite as thick in his parts. So he's kind of getting a little bit of height at the expense of being a little bit more svelte, a little bit thinner. But I also think that's a good look for a Seeker. So there you go. Now, whether or not you upgrade is entirely your decision. I would say there are pluses and minuses to both of them. So while the new one has much more articulation, you're going to find more hollowed out parts on him, like the thighs, where they're more solid on the Earthrise mold. The Earthrise mold is also going to be good for those who really do like the extra tech detail, as well as those who just don't want to upgrade their entire Seeker collection again. So I don't think it's entirely useless, but I definitely think it still has a place. It still has a place in your collection, just depending on what your personal preferences are. So maybe don't send it off to eBay immediately. Well, there you go. There you go. That's my take. I think both of them are pretty good. So, articulation-wise, how did he turn out? Well, you got a nice head joint, so that works really well. And we do need to talk about the head really quick one more time. See how nice and bright those red eyes are as I struggle to keep this character in focus. So this character is actually using a coloring technique for the eyes that I see very rarely, and that is translucent paint. His clear plastic on his head for the light piping is completely clear, which means it lets in as much light as possible, but his eyes are absolutely solid looking in normal light. Granted, I have a bunch of lights on for the review, but for the most part, normal light brings out a solid red color. If there's a light directly behind it, it's going to bring out a white halo around it, so maybe don't hold up your phone light to the back of his head. But this lets him have light pipe effect without looking dead most of the time, and that is a really cool thing. It also leads me to believe that the orange is also translucent and then just painted a clear orange. And I'll also tell you the arm guns here, these are also done in clear plastic and they're completely painted. Not quite sure how they ended up on that side of the mold, but they did. None of this clear plastic worries me as far as durability and longevity, by the way. All right, so universal shoulder joints, 360-degree rotation. Here's another part where the Earthrise mold actually does have an advantage. There's no hinge in the wing here. So if your arm pose that you want to do wants to go backwards like this, it's going to clash on the wing, and there's nothing you can really do about it this time. So keep that in mind. You get a little bit more posability out of this because the waist joint works finally, but you are going to lose a little bit of arm range. Bicep rotation works. You have the elbow, which is 90 degrees, and you have a ball-jointed wrist, so you have lots of movement in that. Waist joint we already demonstrated, but we also have the hip rotation and universal range. The pelvis does flip up, so you can get an extra bit of range for the thigh there. Speaking of, thigh rotation is there, 360 degrees, very tight on mine. Knee, 90-degree bend, ankle, confirmed. No back and forth, though. One note about the feet. I do hate when feet are hinged to go upward for transformation, because that does kind of risk the toy falling over if that joint gets loose. Considering this is a mold that will see, between 6 to 9 uses over its lifespan, that does leave me a little bit concerned, not going to lie. But for now, it's fine. For now, it holds pretty well, and you get a really, really cool looking Thundercracker out of the entire deal. Whether or not you want to pay $43 a pop to upgrade your existing Seekers is entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you if it's worth the money or not. What I will tell you is that in transformation and form, especially if cartoon accuracy is a priority for you, this is technically the best Thundercracker toy we've ever gotten, the best Seeker mold we have ever gotten. As someone who actually liked the Earthrise figure, this one is categorically better. Again, it will depend on personal preferences and your budgetary limitations, but at the very least, I'm going to be upgrading my main 3 Seekers, and then we'll see who they do after that. But for now, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has informed your purchasing decisions a little bit more, and as usual, I will see you next time.
Hello everyone, I am Astral Agent Magnetar, a Tokusatsu VTuber, and I am streaming 4 times a week over on Twitch, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday afternoons, and a special late night one on late Friday/early Saturday. So come watch, come hang out, and let's make an impact together.